looking into the future, we are looking at green products. There are a host of green products which are out there in the market. They're still at a very early stage. I wouldn't say that's something that you can go into, start a company and be successful immediately. There's going to be a lot of investment that's going to take place. So green power, I think, is one of the areas that this company is looking at in our group. Similarly, the green technologies can assist many of our other products. We can look at gas, we can look at solar, we can look at solar being used for pumping applications, solar being used for power generation. There's also wind, there's fuel cell, there's so many things that are happening in the green area. As far as markets are concerned, again, we are looking at the US market for our products, whether they are products or technologies. And we find that our existing products, if we have to look for technologies or technical tie-ups, it's a little more difficult now to get technology from multinational companies as they are interested in the Indian market itself. So we have to invest in our own R&D to be able to survive in the global competition.
So in last few years, the number of technical tie-ups with US has been on an upward swing. Considering this, what can be done to strengthen the exchange of techno-commercial expertise between US and India, specifically related to your business?
In our business, I think in the engineering business, technical tie-ups have been happening, I would say, since the 50s. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, I would say there were more controls in India as opposed to anywhere else. After 1991 and even after the year 2000, number of these controls have really gone. It's techno-commercially, I don't think there is much to be done because we have a system as far as the legal system, the financial system is concerned, which is acceptable the world over. Language is also English, so it's not very, I wouldn't say it's a barrier at the moment. So it's just that over the past decade, I think the interest in India has suddenly gone up, and that's why you see more techno-commercial deals that are taking place.
So any particular policy changes in India which you would think would further facilitate Indo-US business environment?
When you talk about policies, it's a very large arena or a very large scope of work. I don't have any specific suggestions, but I think whether we as Indian industry and our associations, or whether the US and their policy makers, or organizations like yours, which is AUSIB, when you start interacting with businessmen on either side and policy makers in the government on either side, I think there's a better understanding of what the needs are locally. And I think that should solve the problem rather than me making a suggestion on a specific policy.
So how do you feel the US-India civil nuclear agreement will help the Indian business and the economy?
India had been in the nuclear wasteland for a very long time because people really did not know India or did not believe what India was saying. I think over the past decade, again, our government and its actions have really shown or built confidence and trust in the international community to allow a nuclear agreement to happen. And this nuclear agreement is really to be able to supply fuel so that you can have nuclear power available. The moment nuclear power, which is clean power, which is available, then you start having an investment cycle that takes place so that you have investments in nuclear power stations. The moment there is nuclear power station requirements, you need people who can run nuclear power. So there's an educational need and a training need that takes place. You have a whole surge in the supplier base because technology has to come in, and if it has to be cost effective, then Indian manufacturers of nuclear equipment have to start popping up. So I do see techno-commercial deals happening in that area. I do see investments happening in that area. I see employment happening in that area, and I see the economic growth happening because power is available again. So it really goes across the economy, and it really helps give it a boost.
So we recently experienced European economic crisis. What precautions should a businessman take to insulate themselves from consequences of such eventualities?
I think instead of a businessman taking, certainly businessmen have to take some precautions, but basically I think the country and its government first have to take precautions to make sure that the kind of excesses that happened in the financial field in both the US as well as Europe does not happen in India. And I think our government has made sure that we were very conservative and we regulated our fiscal or our financial system very well. As far as businessmen are concerned, like running any business, one has to be extremely careful as far as money is concerned. So running a company, you need to make sure that you are not overextended. You want to make sure that your current assets are in control. You want to make sure that whatever loans you're taking are for expansion and for capital expenditure. You want to make sure that you're profitable and your costs don't go out of control. As far as exports are concerned, you want to make sure that you're looking or hedging the currency that you're dealing in, and that you're making sure that you're getting your money when you send your products out. So these are very simple things that you need to do, but those were the simple things that were not done, and that's why some countries went into problems. But I think India is quite conservative in that sense.
So, talking about your business, we've seen that most of Kirloskar units are located in Maharashtra. Do you have any plans of expanding in any other states?
Yeah, if you, I would say that your question is based on a reflection or question at this point in time. If one were to go back in history, my great-grandfather in 1905 or 6, I think, was actually told to stop doing what he was doing because he was in a residential area. And fortunately for him, the Raja Sahib of Aundh, who was a little away from Belgaum where he stayed, offered him land and capital. So I would say he had no choice but to go there at that time. Even then, when we expanded, I think they looked at Pune as well as Gwalior for the diesel engine factory and chose Pune. For the electric motors, they went south to Bangalore. There was another Maharaja there. I guess at that time they were Maharajas, and they wanted entrepreneurs to come into their kingdoms. And Kirloskar Electric was started in Karnataka, in Bangalore. And if you go further down the road, I think in the late 60s and early 70s, the major transshipment point in India was Indore. So we put up a factory in Indore, which is Madhya Pradesh. Later on in the 90s, when we set up a pig iron plant and foundry, we needed to be near iron ore, and that iron ore was in Hospet, which is in Karnataka. So if you see the trend, a lot of times one needs to look at what is the industry you're going in, where is your customer, where is your raw material source, where do you get talented people, and that's what you base the decision on. Yes, if you look at it as a snapshot, you notice that they are in certain areas. But recently, one of our group companies also bought a company in England, and they have a subsidiary in America, and they also have an office in Europe. So we are expanding. We have offices in South Africa, in Dubai, in Southeast Asia, in a number of countries. So I would say, okay, manufacturing plants wise, India. We haven't gone out in terms of manufacturing plants, but that time might come in a few more years.